has been raised before by other people, but I ask it again now in this same context. When the supreme leader of Iran is continuing, in the middle of these negotiations, is continuing to make statements like "death to America," how is that not problematic for you? How is that not something that, why are you just willing to let it slide, basically, and you are holding the Prime Minister of Israel to comments that he made and has since changed?
Yeah, it's a pretty good question, I must say. We've been asking it here on this show for days as well. Welcome to Gimme 5. Okay, Jen Psaki, you're on.
Well, Matt, I think we'd hardly put the supreme leader and the leadership of Israel in the same category. Israel is a strategic partner, a security partner.
The Iranians can be trusted and the Israelis can't? Is that what
No. I'm actually trying to convey that our relationship with Israel is abiding, it's strong, it's a security relationship, it's one that we're committed to. Do we have disagreements on some issues, like how we should proceed with preventing Iran from acquiring a nuclear weapon? Yes. Do we believe that it isn't possible to just forget what the Prime Minister says when it's conflicting with past precedent and past policy for some time? Yes.
All right. Well, it's really not answering the question. And the question really should be focused on how do you negotiate with an enemy who chants death to America basically from the negotiating table? That's the question that should be asked. What's the precedent for that, Jen? What's the precedent for that? Here's more.
But obviously, we're continuing our discussions. The Secretary has been in touch with Prime Minister Netanyahu. We remain committed to our relationship. Remember, we're not evaluating our relationship with Israel. We're evaluating how to proceed as it relates to pursuing a two-state solution.
Right. We're evaluating whether to force this solution down the throats of our dear friends, the Israelis, at the United Nations, a body that despises Israel and makes a mockery of itself by constantly citing Israel. So we're not evaluating or reevaluating our relationship with Israel. We're just deciding whether or not we should screw them. That's all. Don't you see the difference, Matt? More.
And all of that is well and good, but the supreme leader of Iran represents a regime that took over the U.S. Embassy in Tehran and held hundreds of Americans hostages for a long time, is what you say is a leading state sponsor of terrorism,
and remains and will be even if there's a deal.
Right, and yet you're willing to let his words slide, but not that of a country with which you say you have this great security relationship.
No, I would disagree with that.
No, I would not. And by the way, she agreed. She acknowledged that Iran will remain the major sponsor of terrorism, even if they sign a nuclear deal. And Obama couldn't care less. That's what she's saying. Here's more.
I would say, one, as a reminder, even if there is a deal with Iran, it doesn't mean we let slide or forget either whether it's the comments, or more importantly, the actions, state sponsorship of terrorism, their human rights record, the fact that they're holding American citizens, they continue to hold American citizens, including a Washington Post reporter, in their jails. I mean, these are all issues that we remain very concerned about. Those concerns are not going to be soothed by a deal.
Do you realize the magnitude of what you just heard? Have you ever heard the president even acknowledge that Iran is the greatest sponsor of terror, that they're holding Americans hostage, that they'll continue to be the biggest sponsor of terror? That I don't even know if she said they're killing Americans, which they are. Well, with all that said, why are you sitting down at the table with them and begging them to take a deal, which will not affect any of the things you just said? It's insanity. One more.
But we also feel that preventing Iran from acquiring a nuclear weapon is not only in our interest, it's in the interest of the international community, and that's why we're pursuing it. It's not about trust. No,
it can't be about trust. How do you trust a country that is the biggest sponsor of terror, that is killing Americans, that is holding Americans hostage, etc., etc.? So if it's not about trust, how do you trust any deal they'll sign? Duh!